This is the Begin Within podcast, where we believe real, lasting health and fitness requires you to start inside before you work out. I'm your host, Nate Slegger, and I'm here to show you behind the scenes of fitness. You already know exercise is good for you, but what about all the other things in life that affect your fitness? If you're looking for extra motivation to get started or to make sure you keep going, this is the place for you.
Produced by BeginWithin.fit.
There is something exciting about this time of year. There's something motivating about a fresh start. It's that Monday feeling. It's that first of the month feeling. And it is just amplified right now because we have the first day of a new calendar year right around the corner. I know that you are here because you want to make huge improvements in terms of health, weight loss, and fitness in the year 2023. And I have something that is going to help you. I promise this will be a game changer for you. It's a free class. It's called Healthy Habit Hacks for the new year. And I'm going to share 5 of the things that I have found to be the most important pieces of any program, any health and fitness journey, any plan that you want to take on. If you want to be successful, you want to include these 5 healthy habit hacks that I'm going to talk about in this free class. I'm going to be teaching this class multiple times this week. I hope that one of those times works with your schedule. You can grab a spot by going to beginwithin.fit/free class. Pick the option that works best for you, and I will email you the link that you need in order to join the class at that time, or you can click on the link in the show notes. Again, that's beginwithin.fit/free class. I'm excited about this, and I hope to see you there. My guest today is Joanne Edinberg from Body Wisdom Nutrition. She's an eating psychology coach, and she's on a mission to help women end the quest for the perfect diet and the perfect body. So glad that she's here. You may remember that she was here not too long ago as well, back on episode 71. So if you enjoyed this conversation and you haven't heard episode 71, go back there and enjoy that one as well. Also an interview I did with Joanne a little bit ago. So go check it out if you haven't listened to that one previously. And even if you have, and it's time to listen again, go all the way back to episode 71 where we talked about ending the quest for the perfect body. I think that you're going to enjoy that because, so often in fitness we can get confused. We can get confused when we're talking about weight loss, we're talking about health, we're talking about improving our fitness. It becomes a quest for perfection. And it's something that we have to be very careful of, right? So go listen to that episode. It's one that I absolutely loved. I know that you're going to enjoy it again. Today, our focus is on 2023. If you're listening at the time of this podcast initial release, it's right around the corner. We're going to turn the calendar. We're going to get the new calendar up on the wall, whatever it is. And of course, along with that comes, I'll acknowledge it, I'll admit it, along with it comes some excitement about a fresh start, right? It's that Monday feeling or the first of the month feeling, but just amplified because it's the start of a new year. And, for a long, long time now, people have had the tradition, I'll say, of creating resolutions for the new year, right? And apparently that practice goes back to a time when people believed at the start of the year that somehow they were going to get some divine blessing on the resolutions that they made at the beginning of the year. Now, at this point, we all understand that that doesn't really happen, right? In fact, along with New Year's resolutions, are all kinds of jokes, right? About what are you going to try to do? I'm all set. I'm all gung ho. I'm going to get the gym membership. I'm going to start the diet. I'm going to do whatever. But everybody knows it's not going to last, right? It's a source of joking at this point. But here's the thing. I do believe and I understand that a fresh start, right? A fresh calendar, whatever it is, that with it comes some motivation to do better. I've seen it back in the days when I was a personal trainer in the gyms. I used to see Monday was the busiest day of the week. And if the first of the month was toward the beginning of the week, that was even bigger, right? There's just something about it. We're motivated to make changes when we have this fresh slate and a new calendar and a new year calendar. For some reason, it does that to us. I get it. And the same for me, right? I have some things that I want to accomplish. We set goals for the year, both in business and in personal life. And so when we set those goals, we run out of the gates like, here we go. So I understand. But today, Joanne Edinberg and we're going to talk about the idea of resolutions and how to rethink them to make them more effective and more beneficial. So I know you're going to enjoy this interview. Here's a few things that I want you to listen for. And first is her idea that she explains, hey, if it's working, great. Don't, if it's not broke, don't fix it. She's going to talk about that and how that applies to resolutions that have to do with health and wellness. More importantly, she's going to talk about kindness and compassion and how we respond best when those things are present. So listen for that. And then finally, she's going to talk about the ultimate purpose of making any changes. I'm not going to tell you what that is. I'm going to have you listen for it. So the ultimate purpose behind resolutions or goals or any adjustments that we want to make to health and fitness. Please enjoy my interview with Joanne Edinberg.
I don't really like to think of anything as wrong, first of all. So I don't think there is a wrong. And I think if the way that you do New Year's resolutions is working for you, great. Keep doing it. It's true about anything. But if it's not working for you, if you're one of the many people where you make a resolution at the beginning of the year and you're super excited about it and you're good for a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, and then you're just not that excited anymore. I think it's important to think about, well, what is your take on resolutions? Like, what is that about for you? Why are you doing it? And I think that is where there might be some room for shifting our approach to making New Year's resolutions, if we want to even make them. Because I think that the why is really important. Just like the work that I do with my clients. Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to change your diet? What's behind it? What's the deeper issue going on? So, like for me, if your New Year's resolution is coming from a place of, I'm broken, there's something wrong with me that I need to fix, then I think there's an opportunity to rethink that. Like, well, if you want to improve your health or you want to improve your diet and feel better, how can you do that more effectively? And I think that a lot of people's resolutions are very kind of on the surface. They're goal oriented, but they're focused on not really getting at the deeper issues that cause us to do the things we do or don't do. Mm-hmm. So,
okay. So the why behind it needs to be given some attention. I mean, regardless of the time of year that you're trying to make a change. I'm curious about some of those deeper motives or the deeper things, even as you work with clients or in your experience and your perspective, what might some of those be? Like, what are some of the things you hear, if you don't mind sharing, as far as like, well, what is a more, maybe a more motivating why, or one that serves somebody better? than just like I'm
Right.
broken and I want to fix it. What are
Right.
some of the things you hear,
Yeah.
Joanne?
I mean, I think a lot of times people want to lose weight, for example, because they want to feel more comfortable with themselves. They want to feel more confident. They just want to feel better, right? They
Mhm.
want to be more successful in every area of their lives. And they think that losing weight is going to get them there. But I think if you focus on, well, what are those feelings? That confidence, that feeling good about myself, how do we get there? I think that's the difference. It's like changing our physical appearance. It can have an effect for sure. Uh, we live in a culture where our physical appearance does make a difference, right? But in the end, we're still the same person underneath. And I think the reasons why we don't feel comfortable with ourselves or why we don't feel confident is much deeper than our personal appearance. So I think that's where we have to start. And that's, we're still going to be the same person, whether we change how we look or not. And so I think we see this, a lot of times you get that initial, you know, positive high when you lose weight, for example. You get a lot of positive feedback from other people. You do feel better because that's sort of been your goal. But then it goes away because now you're worried about gaining the weight back, or now you still don't feel good inside. You're still the same person. So I think, working on from the inside out is what's important. And if you do that, then maybe you will, if you have extra weight to lose, you will lose it because you feel better about yourself. You want to change how you do things. You want to shift your behaviors because you love yourself. You know, you feel you want to treat yourself better because ultimately you love who you are, right? Rather than wanting to become someone else.
Mm.
So I think in terms of resolutions, thinking of it in the same way, like how can I learn about myself more, understand why I do the things that I do? Because I think there's always good reasons for it. Why don't I go to the gym 3 times a week? Why don't I eat, a healthier diet? Well, it's not because I don't know that I should do that, right? Most of us know what we should do to take good care of ourselves, but we don't do it. So why is that? Hmm. So I think that really getting at the root of that is what's going to shift. That's how we make transformations in our lives. That's how we make sustainable change. Anyone can do things for the short term, but if we're not getting at the root and the why, then I think it's hard to keep it going. And that's what happens with New Year's resolutions a lot of the times. I don't know.
Gotcha.
What are your thoughts?
What so as I'm listening, I guess the question that comes up for me, and that I'd love to know your answer to, is um, we have this. I don't know what, like we have this like fresh. We have this fresh calendar. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that Monday. It's the first of the month and like the first of the year. Like there
Mm-hmm.
is some like there's
Mm-hmm.
something there, right? There's some energy behind that. Like we kind of like, okay, clean slate. Here I go. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I want, I guess what I'm looking for is what would the, knowing that that's going to be there, or let's not ignore it. Like there is something like something
Yeah.
cool here that we
Mm-hmm.
could kind of harness. What would be the best way to go about taking advantage of that, like new calendar excitement or whatever it is? What
Mm-hmm.
would be your
Mm-hmm.
opinion on it? I mean, as we're being,
Yeah.
should we focus on the journey of discovering the why? Would that maybe be better than just like I gotta lose this weight? Or I guess what's the journey? What's January 1 look
Yeah.
like?
I mean, I like the idea of starting anew. It doesn't have to be in January, right? It
Right.
could be every day we start that way. It could be every
Yeah.
week, every month, whatever. But yeah, we do have this beginning of the year, and there's something to be said for that. So that's great. So I don't want to discount that. But I also think that it's important to not feel pressured into it too, because I think there's like, oh, what's your New Year's resolution for the have you thought about it? What's so if you're not inspired to do something new, then I don't think you should. I mean, I am a firm believer that when we're ready to do something, we're ready, and when we're not, we're not, and we shouldn't feel bad about that.
Okay.
So, but if you are inspired, if you do feel like this time of year is a good time to start some new things and to start to rethink how you might want to do some things, I think it is a good time to take advantage of that. But yeah, kind of getting at the root of like why you want to do it. Why do you want to change some of your habits, for example, or do things differently? I think that's the
Got it. How would that, I guess, and it's probably different for everybody, but maybe what have you seen be the most effective as far as the search into that, the exploration of why? Is it like is it journaling exercise? Is it having a conversation with somebody? Like, I guess what might be one of the ways that you recommend?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different strategies that you can use, and it's different for everyone. Yeah, writing or journaling, I think, can be very helpful to looking at getting at the root of why we do what we do, talking to other people, getting that support, like shifting the mindset out of the self-judgment and the criticism, like there's something wrong with me, I need to fix myself, to just getting curious. That's interesting. At this time of year, I always do this, or when I go to these parties or I'm with these family members, I always do this thing that I don't want to do anymore. So, that's interesting. I wonder why I do that. And, kind of sometimes just looking back at our patterns from when we were younger, like I think a lot of times we develop habits for self-protection. We did those things to protect ourselves when we were younger. And now we're adults, so we don't have to do those things anymore. But that doesn't mean it's easy to change. But really getting a handle on that, I think, is helpful. So kind of just exploring the old relationships, how we grew up, the patterns, and having a lot of compassion about it. Like, oh, look, I survived that situation by doing this. Maybe when we were younger, we didn't have a lot of autonomy. Most young children or teenagers don't, right? They don't have the opportunity to make the choices they want to make. So they rebel. That's like human nature. But okay, now we're adults. We can do what we want. We can make choices. So we don't have to rebel against, not eating the chocolate cake or, no, I'm not going to go exercise because someone else told me to. It's like those old voices in our head that we need to really take a look at. We don't have to fight about that anymore. We are our own sovereign being here. As an adult, we can make our own choices and making decisions because it's our choice, as opposed to because we should do this thing or we're supposed to do this or someone else told me to do it. I think shifting your mindset in that way can be really helpful too. Like, I'm choosing to do this new behavior because I actually want to take care of myself. I care about myself. And that's the reason, not because, this expert said this is the way that you're supposed to eat, or these, social media visuals tell me I'm supposed to look like that, So
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are things come up.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like the introspection of noticing the pattern, like noticing patterns and kind of saying, hey, I have it. Maybe like, is this still serving me? Because I have a choice to not do it anymore now. Before, like, it was the best choice and it did serve me in some way, but is it still? I like looking at it that way. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah.
Is that a good way to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's important.
Awesome.
And
Yeah, and I heard you. No, you a couple of times, and I'm sure the last time that you were here, we talked about it too, of coming at the process of shifting and making changes, doing something healthier, whatever it might be, from a place of self-care.
Mhm.
How how do you see it playing out differently when someone has that as part of the journey in improving their health? When
Mhm.
self-care is there, what I guess how is it different than when someone's like, I want to lose this weight. I'm so unhappy. I'm so frustrated. I can't believe I let this
Right.
happen. I'm gonna go beat myself up in the gym or restrict all my whatever carbs or
Mhm.
whatever they choose to do. How is it different when they have that
Right.
self-care motivation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as human beings, we respond a lot better with kindness and compassion. If you have children, think about that. Like if you try to force them into doing things or punish them or even rewarding them for doing good things, it doesn't work as well as just really trying to get at some understanding about, again, why they're doing the things they are doing and having that relationship with them. It's the same with ourselves. Like we want to have that kind, compassionate relationship with ourselves. And I think it's just a lot more motivating to actually making changes,
Nice.
pushing ourselves, disciplining ourselves, like we have to do this, we need to force ourselves to make changes. I think that's kind of our cultural narrative. That's the only way we can get things done. And I disagree with that. I don't think it works for the long term. I think it does work for the short term for a lot of people, but it's not sustainable because in the end, we just feel bad about ourselves if we don't do it right, if we're not following our resolution, we feel like a failure. If we have that perspective of, well, I'm going to be kind to myself no matter what, whether I follow through with this particular goal or not. There's a good reason why I did or didn't do it, and I'm just going to get curious about why, and I'm going to keep coming back to myself and try to figure that out,
Hmm.
and give myself some grace. I don't need to be perfect. It's that perfectionism, needing to do things an exact way. And if we don't, we're a failure, that I think backfires.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah,
know
that
if
makes
that
sense.
answers your
I
question,
like,
but
yeah, curiosity has come up a couple times too, being curious.
mhm,
And also understanding yourself. Like, I think that process of learning about yourself, when you have that self-compassion, you'll keep learning. You'll be able to be curious. I feel like it's hard to be curious when you're being a drill sergeant, forcing, feeling
mhm,
stressed, maybe being more reactive, less responsive. But if you can just relax for a moment, be curious about it, and say, oh, can I learn here? I like I kind of hear all those themes, and I like how that fits together so nicely as part of a journey, whether it's January 1 or anytime, anytime
mhm.
of year, right?
And I think the other piece is also trust. That we can actually trust ourselves to know what we need to do without forcing it. I do believe in inspired action. Like when we're ready to do something, we'll do it, and when we're not, we're not. And trusting that, like I think we lose trust in ourselves and in our bodies to know what to do from pretty early age. And so, like, our bodies are amazing in terms of being able to tell us what we need to know. So, that's why I call my coaching business body wisdom nutrition. Our bodies are amazingly wise if we listen. And we're
Mm,
we're kind of taught to stop listening to ourselves and to listen to other people, to get our validation from the outside, instead of from ourselves. And so, I think if there was going to be a good New Year's resolution or any kind of resolution, it's like paying attention to ourselves and to our bodies
mm.
to be able to figure out what we need to know. And, I think presence is actually the best present we can give ourselves,
I like
because
that.
there's a lot there. But we're shut off from that and cut off from that pretty early on, because, that's not socially acceptable to express our feelings, for example. Like, our feelings are there to teach us something, like something's off. If we're feeling anxious, we're feeling depressed, we're angry, we're frustrated. A need isn't getting met. That's all that is going on there. And if we can just like pay attention to our body and what it's feeling like inside, that
Hmm.
physical sensation, it just kind of flows through us, and we
Yeah.
can actually have more energy and be more inspired to do what we need to do.
Awesome. I like that. I like there's so many little things in what you're saying. I just, man, I know we could keep going. I love the idea of those emotions are signals. Yeah. Keep doing something or start doing something else. Like if it's feeling good, keep doing it. If it's if
Mm-hmm.
it's not, gotta start doing something else. Let's figure out what it is. Um, hmm. What is the best way for people to connect with you? I know you mentioned your coaching practice. How can someone get in touch with you or follow your work, Joanne?
Yes. Well, my website's the best place, and that's just my name, joanneedinberg.com. I have a 12-week Transform Your Relationship with Food and Your Body program, which is a one-on-one coaching program, which is very personalized, but we really dive deep into these issues and, figure out the why and develop some new strategies to get you on the path that you're looking for.
Awesome.
So yeah, and I have lots of, like, the podcast interview we did before, and all my other podcast interviews are on my website as well, if you want to get a sense of my approach on some of these topics in addition to what we talked about today. So,
Awesome. Cool.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I know as a coach, you probably listen and you probably do a lot of listening. And I think it's an honor for me to be able to listen to you, give you a chance to do some talking based on all your experience. So thank you, Joanne Edinberg, for being here once again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
All right. Links, as usual, are in the show notes for you to be able to connect with Joanne and follow her work. If you enjoyed the conversation that we had, I have two places for you to go. You could check out two other episodes. You can go all the way back to last January, episode 44, and I did an episode called Why You Need to Ditch the All or Nothing Mindset. You can go check that out. Short little conversation that I had with myself. Sometimes I just call it a rant, about 20 minutes long. You could listen to that one, Why You Need to Ditch the All or Nothing Mindset. And then also episode number 57, how you can get more self-compassion. Like Joanne mentioned, that's how we respond best to compassion. So how can you get more self-compassion? Episode 57. So episode 44 and episode 57. And again, if you want to catch Joanne's last appearance here on the Begin Within podcast, that is episode 71. Now, before we wrap, hey, if it's working great, if you've been great at setting goals and achieving them, moving forward toward them, awesome. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But if you want to make sure that this time your determination, the motivation that you have at the start of a new year is going to take you somewhere productive, then heed the expert's advice today and realize that the whole purpose, the ultimate purpose, is to understand yourself better. And the same for me. For me to be able to understand myself better in this process of setting goals and trying to work toward them. And of course, it all starts with why. Why? Why do you want the things that you want? We've had so many experts here on the show, so many people that work with people like you and me who want to improve their health, and we've heard so many times over and over again, so often, that the why behind it is so important, and just being open and honest about it, taking some time to get curious about our why. So the action step that I have for you this week, on the, on the eve of a new year, just before it begins, if you have some things that you want to accomplish with the new calendar being up on the wall, and of course we all have things we want to accomplish, and I get it. There's some extra excitement about a fresh start, a fresh calendar. If you've got some things that you want to accomplish, my action step for you is this. Take some time, sit down and think about not only what those things are, but why. Why they're so important for you. Get curious. If it's journaling, write it out. Write out your why. Why are these things so important? Or talk with someone that you care about or a coach about why the goals that you have are so important to you. Taking some time to answer that question is going to help you to learn even more about yourself in the process, but also it's going to help you to make some really good action steps around that specific goal. Thank you so much for being here once again with me on the Begin Within podcast. If you would be so kind, I would appreciate it so much. Of course, if you haven't rated and reviewed the podcast in your podcast player, please do so. And also, if you wouldn't mind, take a screenshot of yourself listening to the episode and put it onto your stories, and then tag me, Nate Slegger. And of course, I hope that we get an opportunity to have a really productive conversation about our health and wellness goals together. Thank you so much once again. I appreciate you. And I'll talk to you next time here on the Begin Within podcast.